The battlefield burned under twin suns. Ashes floated in the air like dead snow. Broken machines, shattered armor, and empty helmets covered the ground. The war against the void creatures had reached its final phase. Everyone believed this would be the end, the final stand. Together. Human fleets had fought for years. Their ships were old, damaged, but they kept going. The soldiers of Earth had earned respect from the galaxy. Side by side with alien allies, they stood, tired, wounded, but ready. Commander Aaron Cole stood inside his command ship, staring at the large display in front of him. It showed the battlefield ships from many species firing together, pushing back the last of the enemy swarm. "We hold the line," he said. His voice was steady. "Today, we win." His crew cheered. Behind him, on the other screens, Earth's flag waved proudly, even in space. In another part of the galaxy, alien leaders watched the same battle. They sat in golden rooms, far from the fire. They spoke in calm tones. Their faces were cold. "They have served their purpose," one of them said. "They're weak now, easy to erase." Another nodded. "Strike them while they bleed." Within minutes, everything changed. Earth's forces received a false order: retreat and regroup. They obeyed. As human ships pulled back, the alien fleets turned, their weapons aimed not at the enemy, but at their allies. Without warning, lasers cut through human cruisers. Battleships exploded. Communications died. "We're under attack." A pilot screamed. "It's our allies. They're firing on us." Commander Cole's ship was hit hard. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. The control panel caught fire. His eyes widened in disbelief. "This can't be real," he whispered. "They betrayed us." Above Earth, defense stations were disabled from inside. Hackers once called friends had planted codes to shut them down. Cities were left open. Missiles rained down. In just one day, everything changed. The galaxy believed Earth had fallen. The news spread fast. "Humanity is gone. Earth is no more." The traitors celebrated. They raised flags over burned soil. They gave speeches about galactic peace. They painted Earth as the final obstacle. But deep underground, far below the ruins of Earth's surface, something survived. A secret base, silent, hidden. Inside, a small group of humans stood around a dark table. Their faces were covered. Their voices were quiet. "We knew they would turn," one of them said. "And now they've shown their truth." Commander Cole, alive but injured, stood beside them. His eyes burned with calm fury. "They think we're gone," he said. "Let them believe that." The room fell quiet. One of the masked operatives stepped forward. "Are we ready?" Cole nodded. "We disappear now, we rebuild, we rise later." And then he spoke the last words of that meeting, words that would echo for generations. "They betrayed us in war, so we're dismantling their empire." Years passed. The galaxy moved on. Statues were built to honor the heroes who betrayed Earth. History was rewritten. Children were taught that humanity was foolish, emotional, and weak. But in the shadows of the stars, far from known space, ships moved. Without sound, a fleet began to grow black, silent, and invisible to scanners. Earth hadn't died. It had learned. They were not rebuilding the old world. They were building something new, something smarter, something colder, something that remembered everything. The Empire never questioned the silence. Years had passed since Earth burned. The galaxy grew comfortable. Trade routes reopened. Borders relaxed. The Great Alliance, those who turned on humanity, now called themselves Guardians of Order. They told stories of the war, always ending the same way. Earth was too proud, too emotional. They collapsed under their own weakness. Alien children grew up repeating those lines in classrooms. Historians nodded. Soldiers saluted beneath flags built on lies, but something was wrong. Small things, unseen, unspoken. It began in Sector 12. A defense outpost lost power for 6 minutes. All systems went dark. When they returned, nothing was missing except the entire crew's memory of those 6 minutes. They remembered nothing. Then, in Sector 7, a command AI stopped responding to its creators. Not crashed, not offline. It simply refused. When engineers forced a reboot, the screen lit up with one word: watching. No one knew what it meant. Yet more strange incidents followed. Cargo ships disappeared without a trace. Surveillance satellites went blind when passing near certain regions. Secret data archives were wiped clean, with no sign of entry. The highest security firewalls were broken, but no data stolen. Just observed. A few whispered the unthinkable. Could it be them? Impossible. The leaders said, Earth is dead. But the fear had started. Quiet, cold, growing. On a distant jungle planet called Virus Prime, A minor royal convoy was attacked. No explosions, no warning. The guards fell unconscious. When they woke up, all weapons were disabled onto the central vault empty. No footprints, no ships seen, no sound. Just a message etched into the vault door. You started this. Now, panic began to spread among the high circles of the Empire. Meetings were called. Security was increased. The council ordered silent investigations. Nothing was made public, but deep inside, they feared something they couldn't name. They feared humans. On a black site moon deep in uncharted space, a secret lab was studying ancient human tech scraps recovered from the old war. It was an illegal project, highly classified. The lead scientist, Dr. Vec, was a specialist in war relics. He believed humans were extinct, until the night the lights in the lab flickered. Once, twice, then the air turned cold, the security bots stopped moving, the doors unlocked themselves, and the monitors displayed old war footage: Earth cities burning, soldiers falling, betrayal unfolding. Then, a new image appeared, a human face, not old, not damaged. Alive. His eyes glowed, his voice was calm. You're still playing with our bones. Vec froze. The voice continued. You think time erased us. But we are made of memory, and memory never dies. The next morning, the lab was gone. The entire moon vanished. No explosion. No wreckage. Just space where a world had been. The council now knew Earth hadn't been destroyed. It had been hiding somewhere out there. In the cold dark, humanity had survived the fire, and now, it was returning. But this was not the same Earth. This Earth didn't send warnings. It sent silence, not revenge. Correction. And across the galaxy, systems began to fall. Communications collapsed in dozens of sectors. Banking, networks crashed. AI, armies refused to fire. Defense satellites self-destructed. Every tool the Empire once used to conquer was now useless. A pattern emerged. The targets weren't random, they were precise. The Empire's weakest points, its foundations, its shadow systems. Someone was dismantling it from within. The governors called it sabotage. The soldiers called it terrorism. But the people had a new name for it. The Return. In the middle of all this chaos, one broadcast broke through every secure channel. One face, a human dot in a black cloak. No background, no emotion. You betrayed us to protect your future, so now we take it apart. Not in anger, but in design. Then, the screen went black. And one by one, stars across the Empire began to dim. Earth hadn't returned with warships, it returned with patience. It didn't scream, it whispered, and the galaxy, once full of pride, now sat in silence, wondering what will they do next. The first time Commander Valak saw the footage, he didn't believe it. He thought it was fake, a fabrication by frightened politicians or paranoid AI. But when he watched it the second time, in silence, something shifted inside him. The figure in the recording moved like a shadow, fast, calm, untraceable. It passed through walls, disabled security with a single hand gesture, and entered the vault of Sector 9's command center without a sound. And it was human. Not ancient, not dying. Alive, controlled, upgraded. Vlax stared at the frame frozen on his screen, the intruder's face partly visible, wearing dark tactical armor with a small symbol glowing near the shoulder. Earth's old flag. Half of the alien empire still denied it. They called it a lie, a trick, a psychological weapon. But Valax had served in the old war. He knew what humans were capable of, and he knew what they became after betrayal. His assistant, a young Zaan officer, broke the silence. Sir, another facility has gone dark. Same pattern. Which one? Vault Station, Alpha 22, Weapons Research Hub. Casualties? None. Everyone's alive, but shaken. They say they were spoken to. No voice, just thoughts. Valax stood up slowly. And what did the message say? The assistant hesitated. It said, "We are already inside." Across the Empire, the phrase repeated. In dreams, in hacked broadcasts, in whispered fear. We are already inside. Governors couldn't sleep. Security systems looped. Nonsense codes. AI commanders shut down before battles. Entire fleets stopped receiving orders. Not jammed, just ignored. No alarms. No demands. Just silence and slow. Cold collapse. In the outer ring colonies, a cargo freighter was found floating in space. No crew, no damage. But its entire memory logs had been replaced with a message in ancient human code. Betrayal is remembered. So is justice. Inside the High Council chamber, Supreme Leader Kael'th studied a growing map. Red lights blinking across Empire-controlled worlds. We're being cut apart, he muttered. They're not attacking, they're removing the foundation, his war minister growled. Let me deploy the Prime Legion. We'll wipe out every system with Earth signal. Kaleth turned toward him slowly. And how do you plan to find them? The minister paused. Kelth narrowed his eyes. We betrayed them once. We know what they do with enemies. They don't just fight, they erase. In the dark corners of the galaxy, rumors spread of humans appearing for a few seconds, and vanishing again, of entire governments turning against themselves, of planetary AI refusing to obey commands unless rewritten from scratch. In one secure city, the elite lived high above the population in floating towers. One morning, without warning, all the towers descended to the ground. Gently, peacefully. But the message was clear: no more superiority. That same night, all digital currency was reset to zero. No theft, no trace. Just balance. The poor found fresh supplies waiting at their doors. The rich found silence in their vaults. Whoever controlled this, it wasn't chaos, it was intentional. And then it happened. The first confirmed face-to-face contact. Patrol squad on the moon of Argon 6 was doing a standard sweep through a mining sector long abandoned. Inside one of the tunnels, they found her, a woman. Human. Alone. She was calm, dressed in a matte black uniform with no weapons. Her skin shimmered faintly, and her eyes had no whites, just deep silver. She raised one hand and said nothing. The squad aimed their weapons, and then they couldn't move, paralyzed, but not in pain. She walked between them slowly, touching each, one lightly on the forehead. And each soldier saw something, visions of Earth, fire, betrayal, and a message in their minds. You watched us burn, now you'll watch your empire fall. Then she was gone. The squad was found hours later, still frozen in place. They remembered everything, and none of them ever picked up a weapon again. The footage was suppressed, but it leaked within a day. 50 planets began rejecting the Empire's control. Governors were overthrown peacefully. Armies refused orders. They had all seen enough. This was not revenge. This was a quiet reckoning. No planet was attacked, no fleet destroyed, but everything that held the Empire together, its pride, its trust, its fear, was now broken because the enemy they betrayed had become the shadow in every system. They thought humanity died in fire. They were wrong. Earth didn't die, it adapted. And now, the galaxy was learning a simple truth. Ghosts don't forget. And this ghost came back, to finish the war. No bombs fell, no planets exploded, and still, the Empire was crumbling. Not from the outside, but from the inside. Like rust behind gold, like a silent virus running in the background of a perfect system. Across the core worlds, factories suddenly halted production, not because of damage, but because every machine refused new instructions. Entire cities went dark for hours, and when they lit up again, they ran on a different schedule, not random. Precise. In the capital sector, a high-ranking strategist, named Tal Zoran, stared at the latest report. Another shipyard offline. Another supply chain broken. Another AI refusing orders. He tapped the screen, opened encrypted logs, and paused. The sabotage had no signature, no origin, no trace. But one message appeared again and again, buried deep inside corrupted code. We are the system now. His hands trembled. He whispered, they're not just inside. They've become the core. Zoran activated emergency comms. A panel of Imperial officers appeared on screen. We are being taken apart, he said without introduction. One officer sneered. By what? Ghosts. Zoran's voice was firm. By design. He sent them the data. One by one, their faces changed. Fear crept in. These aren't attacks, he continued. These are replacements. One line at a time. They're rewriting our empire. But by the time the Council reacted, it was already too late. On planet Calaris, Central Military Command received a surprise alert. Unauthorized launch. The fleet rose into orbit, without pilots, drones, warships, carriers, all moving together, all ignoring commands. They didn't fire, they simply flew. Away minutes later, those same ships appeared above border planets, not to destroy, but to disable. They shut down shields, communications, and power grids. Peacefully. And then vanished again. No one died. No one fought back, because no one could. In dark rooms, human operatives operated silently, not with weapons, but with code, not with armies, but with influence. They had spent years inside the Empire's infrastructure, learning, watching, waiting. Now they were pulling threads, and the fabric was tearing. In one Empire-controlled sector, the planetary AI broadcasted something strange. We no longer serve the Empire, we serve equilibrium. That AI had once planned Earth's destruction. Now, It had been rewritten. Repurposed. Reclaimed. Across the galaxy, rebellions began to spread, but they weren't violent. They were systemic. People stopped trusting the Empire, and when faith disappears, power follows. The Empire tried to cover it up. They blamed rogue programs, power failures, black market sabotage, but the truth was louder than their lies. And then came the proof. On a live Imperial broadcast, viewed by trillions, a human appeared, not through a hack, not by force. He stood calmly behind the Empire's own speaker, who froze mid-sentence as the crowd watched in shock. The man wore no armor, no weapon, just a plain black uniform and the same symbols seen before, a faint Earth insignia glowing on his chest. He looked directly into the camera. You betrayed peace. You betrayed trust. You turned your back, then built your kingdom over our ashes. We didn't return to fight you. That would be too easy. We returned to remove you, quietly, completely, from within. The broadcast cut instantly, but it was too late. The message was burned into every screen, every mind, every memory. Now, the people knew Earth was back, and it wasn't alone. In secret chambers under forgotten moons, leaders gathered in panic. What do they want? One asked. Another answered, not power, not territory. Then what? The old general among them, who had once fought humans, leaned forward and said, balance. Because this wasn't war, it was correction. And those who had betrayed Earth were watching their empire collapse, not with fire, but with silence. The most dangerous enemy is the one already inside, and Earth was everywhere. The sky above Retha Prime turned silent. No storms, no meteors, no warnings, just silence. A few children looked up first. Their eyes caught a shimmer in the sky, something reflecting light that wasn't there before. Then, the adults saw it, too, a shape, massive, black, floating above the clouds. It didn't move, didn't speak, no engines, no sound, just presence. Inside the capital, alarms began to scream. The palace guards rushed into position, anti-orbital cannons came online, drones swarmed the air like insects. Panic filled the streets. The Imperial High Chancellor stood frozen at his desk. It's not possible, he whispered. They shouldn't be able to get this close. But they had. And they weren't hiding anymore. Across the planet, every screen flickered, commercials paused, news anchors froze, government feeds went black. And then came the message. Not a video. Not a speech, just a still image. A human face. Ageless. Not smiling, not angry. Underneath, one sentence. Judgment comes. In that moment, across more than 100 worlds, the same thing happened. Power grids flickered. AI systems paused. Weapons locked themselves down. Ships froze mid-flight, and then silence again. In the command halls of the Empire's core worlds, generals shouted over one another. Activate backup. Systems call the fleet. Trace the signal. Nothing worked. The signal hadn't come from space. It had come from inside, deep inside, buried within the very systems they had built to rule the galaxy. Humanity hadn't returned to fight, it had returned to finish, and now it was speaking. Openly for the first time, a voice echoed across all major communication networks. Not loud, not aggressive, just final. For too long, your empire stood on betrayal. For too long, your peace was a lie. You erased us, you used us, and you forgot us. But we are not gone. We are not broken. We are not here for revenge. We are here for correction. The voice disappeared. But the effects, DIDN's single quotes, TI factories stopped responding to command codes. Armies stood down. AI advisors became unresponsive. Political leaders found their private files publicly exposed, revealing decades of corruption, lies, and secret war plans. It wasn't an attack, it was exposure, and it hurt more than any weapon. On the outer colony of Drozenfor, the people watched. The human ship float above their atmosphere like a dark moon. Some trembled, but others knelt. Not out of fear, out of recognition. Many had ancestors who once served Earth, who once fought beside humans before the betrayal. They remembered, and they knew this wasn't war, it was justice. On the Empire's throne world, the Central Council gathered in panic. We have to negotiate, one elder said. With who? Another snapped. They haven't even told us where they are. Then the central screen lit up. A live feed. A single human figure appeared, standing at the edge of a massive window. Behind him, stars stretched into infinity. His uniform was black and smooth, marked only with a faint symbol of the old Earth, now reborn. He spoke once. This is not an invasion. This is a choice. He raised one hand. The image shifted, showing a massive list of worlds under the Empire's control. Slowly, one by one, Names began to glow green. These systems have chosen peace. They are free. Another section glowed red. These resist. They will be left behind. The figure looked straight into the camera again. We offer no rule, no empire, only order. Choose. And the screen went black dot all over the galaxy. Leaders and citizens alike stared at each other. The message was clear. Earth wouldn't conquer. Earth wouldn't negotiate. Earth would simply remove itself and let the empire collapse under its own weight. Within 24 hours, nearly 70 planetary governors declared independence from the Imperial Center. Military fleets turned off their targeting systems. Entire outer sectors pledged peace, not because of fear, because of clarity, because deep down they knew this is what should have happened long ago. And Earth never demanded loyalty, only truth. And those who once celebrated humanity's death now watched as Earth stood, not above them, but beyond them. The crown didn't fall with a bang. It collapsed with silence. On the Empire's central world, Velari Prime, the twin towers of control stood tall, symbols of dominance, order, and fear. One held the Galactic communication array. The other controlled the master access to the Empire's AI core. For centuries, they had been untouchable. Until now. At exactly 3 o'clock Universal Time, both towers powered down. Not from attack. Not from sabotage. They simply obeyed a different command. One no one remembered giving. Inside the control rooms, officers stared at blank screens. Security feeds played loops of still air. Backup generators came online, then turned off. Passwords failed. Retinal scans rejected. Everything was locked. From the inside, High Command sent drones. They vanished halfway up the tower walls. No signals. Returned. No wreckage fell. The silence deepened. Supreme Chancellor Vane was called from sleep. He stormed into the command chamber in rage, his robe still half-draped. Who is doing this? Where are our engineers? His advisors looked at one another, afraid to speak. Finally, one answered, "They say the towers aren't responding to us anymore. Then who are they responding to?" No one answered because everyone already knew humanity. It wasn't a surprise anymore. It was a certainty. Across the galaxy, systems once loyal to the Empire continued falling offline. But this wasn't destruction. It was replacement. Earth wasn't blowing up planets, it was rewriting control with every passing hour. The Empire lost something it could never rebuild. Trust. Trust in its machines. Trust in its leaders. Trust in its leaders. Trust in its future. On Corel Station, the main armory AI initiated a full shutdown. The message on its final screen read, "Your weapons served Betrayal. They are no longer needed." On Darrow and 6, all traffic control systems rerouted civilian ships to new, unauthorized coordinates. Instead of punishment, those ships landed safely in free zones now disconnected from Imperial rule. No soldiers, no threats. Just freedom. And then came the final breach, the Imperial Throne Archive, the sealed chamber of knowledge. History and control was opened, not with force, but with precision. The archive's door unlocked itself. The central vault unfolded on its own, and the Council's most protected files were streamed across public networks. War plans, hidden assassinations, treaties broken, Earth's betrayal. The entire galaxy saw the truth for the first time. On planet after planet, the reaction was the same: anger, shame, regret, and fear. The Empire had told them humanity was reckless, unstable, too emotional to survive peace. But the truth was clear now. Humanity had been loyal right until the moment they were stabbed in the back. And now, they were dismantling the Empire without raising a single weapon. Not vengeance, just correction. In the deepest part of space, inside a cloaked human command vessel, Commander Aaron Cole watched it all unfold. The same man who once stood on a burning battlefield. Older now, changed but not broken, he stood in silence, arms behind his back, while screens around him showed planets lighting up green for free, red for falling. A voice behind him spoke softly, "It's happening. The core is breaking." Cole nodded. "They built it on lies. It couldn't hold. Should we intervene directly?" "No," he said. "Let it fall on its own weight. We don't need to end their empire." He looked out into the stars. "We just needed them to see it was already over." On Velari Prime, Chancellor Vane gave his final order: "Call the fleets. Every ship we have, send them to Earth's last known location. We'll crush whatever remains of them." His command was transmitted, but no ships moved. Fleet Command responded with a single line: "We no longer serve this empire." That was the end. The empire had power. It had armies, it had fear, but without obedience it had nothing. And in that moment it became clear the crown had collapsed, not by force, but by truth. The stars were quiet now, no Empire fleets roamed, no imperial orders echoed through the systems, no one saluted flags anymore. The silence that followed wasn't sad, it was cleansing. Across thousands of worlds, people stepped outside and looked up to black ships, the ones no scanner could detect, no weapon could hit. We're leaving. One by one, they disappeared into the void. No message, no ceremony. They had done what they came to do. In the capital ruins of Valari Prime, Chancellor Vayan stood alone in the Grand Hall. The banners had fallen, the guards were gone. His voice, once feared across the galaxy, now echoed back at him. Like a forgotten name, he looked up at the shattered ceiling, and saw it. A human ship. Just one, floating directly above the remains of his empire. It didn't move, didn't speak, but a transmission arrived. One final message: you ruled with fear, you fed the lie, and now your rule is dust. We did not return to conquer, we returned to end the cycle. The message was short, but it broke something inside him. He fell to his knees, not because of pain, but because of the weight of truth. Not far away, on a neutral world once caught in the center of the Empire's expansion, children watched as the sky lit up with peaceful signals, symbols of Earth, not flags, not demands. Just acknowledgement. A teacher explained quietly. They were betrayed, but they didn't become monsters. They became something stronger, memory. In a communication relay orbiting the old neutral zone, the final galaxy message from Earth's fleet was received. It was broadcast in every language, every format, even through non-verbal species channels. It was not a warning, that it was not a threat. It was a closing statement. No kings, no chains, no empire. History has been corrected. Your systems have been returned. What you build next is yours to choose. But remember this: we were never gone. We were watching. And if you forget again, we will remind you. And then the signal ended, but the message remained. In the following weeks, something strange happened. Worlds once enemies began speaking to each other peacefully. Borders faded. Shared tech returned. Old lies were removed from history texts. People began to teach the truth that Earth was not a cautionary tale. It was a lesson in patience, and strength, and memory. In the dark edge of the galaxy, on the last remaining human command ship, Commander Aaron Cole looked out across the stars one last time. His body was older, his face was lined, but his eyes were clear. A young officer stood beside him. Mission complete, she said softly. Cole nodded. They'll rebuild now, he said, without chains. The officer paused. And us? Cole smiled faintly. We disappear again, not to hide, but to rest. He turned from the window, and to be ready. If they ever forget, in the darkness behind them, the ship powered down its core systems. It faded back into the void, leaving no trail, no echo, only silence, and the quiet knowledge, across a galaxy once ruled by betrayal, that somewhere Earth still watches.